I treated my videos like that for my kids. Not that I'm terminal, because I mean, obviously, I was sick today. I thought I was dying. It sucked, but uh, I wish there was a way for us to have a better experience together. I've had folks reach out to me and say, hey, look, funded by us, it would be for profit, and we would pay you for your engagement. I just don't want to do that. Like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do mentorships, and I don't want the books to be terribly expensive. I want them to be obtainable for all of you. And I want you to know the things that I want you to know. And you'll have it. It's like a testimony to everything that I've gone through, what I've learned, what I wish I would have done differently as a mentor, and what I've learned as a mentor, as well as real order block theory. What is this thing that is my order block? Because what you think you know about it isn't it. It's just the initial introduction to it. And there's so many things that you don't know about it that a very big book will be the only way I can communicate. And the wonderful thing is, in mentorship core content, the book won't work for them either. Everything I've ever done has been calculated and planned. See it real, live, right there in front of you. And while there is a small delay, and while there is a small delay, but if you're trading a market that's highly precise like this, like, you could never pull off. And this is why I've never done. And this is why I've always challenged everybody that say they use 1 pip and 2 pip stop losses in Forex, and they do it every single trade and it never gets stopped out. I said, just show me 1 month of doing it. They've never done it. They've never done that. You can't do those tight stop losses in Forex because the brokers that you're in, they have their own internal house of liquidity, and you're in it. And then they see a difference there. Everybody has the same price. So if you're going to be trading in a professional market setting, you want to be in what? That one. And that means you're going to have to pay a little bit of money to get that feed of real-time data. And it's such an insignificant amount of money. So I know a lot of you are in impoverished nations and you're trying to learn. But if I'm not in Forex, and my attention times, and you see us doing live streams, and I'll explain how when the dollar is going to be going up and the S&P will be going up too. Well, what do you do with that? I'll explain all that at the time, because it's all short-term in nature. And that break in the correlation is significant when it's there. much like an SMT divergence. But talking about it conceptually without having it being right there in front of you, it doesn't have the same impact of saying, now watch this 1 minute candle right here. It should not go above this candle's high, and it's going to go to that candle right down there. Always taking your attention away from that. Because here's the thing. I looked at these charts when I was working, when I was driving. I had chart books next to me. When I got stopped at a red light and I was delivering because I used to do vending. I used to do candy machines and soda machines, coffee machines. That was my job when I was learning how to trade. So I was driving around in a Suzu liftgate truck full of candy and sodas and shit, going around servicing machines all around the Baltimore area. I worked for a company out in Owings Mills that doesn't exist anymore. But I had charts with me constantly. And I lived and breathed this shit. Like I couldn't get enough of it. Clearly, you can tell still at 50 years old, I am still immersed in this because it is me. Like, this is me. My wife says it all the time. It's like, this is you. This is like, we're small little. My entire life, I've been that way since. Afraid to put that first trade on. I was so afraid to go into the futures market. I thought by going into options, that would be safer. Man, was I wrong there? I lost half of my money. That shit. By the way, the fella that sent me the little thing, orange juice, I don't have it sitting on my desk, but I do have it. It was cute. To be crude, but you just got to just do it. You just got to let it happen. Whatever the result is, you've done it. Because you're going to be so afraid of that first trade, and you're going to make it more than it really is. And the longer you wait to do that first engagement, the more psychological impact it's going to have. What really is going on? Because if you always are looking at indicators, this is why this shit has never been observed by anybody else. Because they have constantly been bombarding us with what? Something to look at, a red herring. Put these triangles over your chart, and we're going to call it harmonic. Ride the Elliott wave. Get involved in it. You're either going to fall in love with it and fall head over heels over it. Even if you're not profitable yet, you're still going to love it. Just let me just dabble and see what happens. If I make money, great. If I don't, fuck this shit. I'm out of here. If you lose money and you feel like this is it, this is the worst thing that could ever happen, this decision you made was the worst thing you could have ever done for yourself, the trading is not for you. Because losing on trades or losing an account for a real trader, that doesn't mean shit. That's just a spear. That doesn't mean shit. That's just a speed bump. Got to figure it out. You're going to go faster, harder than you really should, sooner than you should. And you're going to have that same experience every one of us have had, regretting pushing too hard, trying to prove something, and you blow out. Let me tell you something. There ain't no shame in doing that. If you blow out, max loss day, blow your account, major drawdown, go into a tailspin, all of that shit is what we do. That's what this industry, that's the common denominator. You're going to lose eventually, but how much are you going to lose? If you push really hard and you try to do Olympic size feats and you blow the account, does that mean you suck as a trader? No. It just means that you were pushing really, really hard and you went beyond the thresholds that your account and your skill set could afford. Done. Now, that is not profitably. Be eloquent with your entries, precision, manage risk impeccably. That's hallmarks to a highly skilled professional trader. Knowing what they're looking for, engaging it perfectly, managing their stop perfectly, taking partials when it allows it. And if it stops you out and you don't get your target, who gives a shit? You've made money. That's the whole reason why you took the trade, right? I mean, nobody's in my community saying our targets are the only ones we got to have. Like, when's the last time you watched me do a full pull? I can do them on every single one of my trades. Anything that I execute on, I can do a full pull. A full pull is me not taking any partials. But I'm teaching you by example, this is what you want to look for because you're learning. See, you're going to get in trades early, sometimes late. You're going to do the shit wrong. And that's all part of this. It's all normal for you to do that and fail. That's normal. Everybody does this. And you learn from those, especially as soon as you take your win to the social media, you're going to feel like, oh, it wasn't big enough. Let me go in there and do more. I got to do 500 contracts of the E-mini S&P or US 500. Because then they'll pay attention to me then. ICT will like my post if I'm using $1 million leverage in my pound dollar trade. If you're using unrealistic expectations in your trades and you're using exorbitant leverage, its chances are I'm not going to like your post. And I'm doing that to show you okay, because you're not trading with that kind of leverage. So don't do that. I'm not impressed with those demo products. Do it. I can see it. If I can see it, I know everybody else can see it. I'm not going to co-sign fraud. And some of you want to see me like, you won't need me to like your post. You won't need me to reply to your post. And I appreciate all that adoration, but it's needless. I'm not a fucking king, okay? I'm not a goat king, okay? I'm not a goat. Realistic when you do it. Don't be fake about any of it. If you lost trying to do something, be honest and share it with the community. You got to cover the dealing spread in Forex. And I was testing high frequency trading and I set them up, let it go, and then boom, 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 boom. Inside of 1 hour, the account's gone. Because the settings would be off and I'm pushing it full board. Bang, 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 bang. Now, if someone looked at that and said, oh, look at this. He put his account together, sat there for 2 weeks, first day out the gate, boom, shot himself in the ass. Looking at it outwardly, that it was like this guy took that many trades and the whole fucking account roasted in 1 day. Outwardly looking at that, it'd be like, oh, that's failure. That's a person doesn't know. I'm trying to automate something. And that failure shows you what you need to adjust and what you need to fix. So there's a lot of ignorance in this industry, especially from people that are just coming in. They don't even know how to fucking trade, but they're going to give an opinion about somebody else. You don't even know what the fuck you're talking about. You have never taken a trade in your life. And you're going to criticize other people and me? Fuck off. Get out of here. You have no idea. You have no idea what you're doing. You have no clue what the fuck you're talking about. And you have no business giving your criticism about anyone. You're still working a job. You've never been profitable. You can't even find a setup, but you got all this criticism about everyone else. That's who some of you are listening to. And you let that shit get into your head. And that's taking precedence over learning. Because if you spend time doing this, you'll see that everything else that anybody's chatting about, it's all bullshit. You're in the right place at the right time with the right person. I'm not going to hand you a bill with a credit card, swipe your this and give me your PayPal that. All this is you show up, you put the work in, learn, It's not going to be easy. It's going to be fucking spouse or your coworkers or your family members, your friends to say, I told you it wasn't going to work. It's all a pipe dream. And some of you deep down inside, listen, folks, listen. It's going to get so hard that you're going to actually create the environment for that to happen. So that way it's ending all the pain. That short little momentary embarrassment around your family and friends, your coworkers. Yeah, I lost my fucking money. You're right. It's fucking bullshit. Nobody's making money. It's all fucking fraud. It's a scam. It's all horseshit. Because you don't want to endure. Because it's hard wrestling with that feeling of, what would they think of me if I fail? Fuck that. Why are you even entertaining that shit? Listen, failure is a fucking choice. That's not a guarantee. Failure is a fucking choice. Setbacks, speed bumps, adversities, that's all part of this, like anything else. Anything worth doing is going to be fucking hard. It's going to cost money. It's going to cost time. Now you're underneath where you had in the account. It's gone. The broker's going to want that money. I've had margin calls like that. It's embarrassing the first time, but you're like, oh, fuck it. The broker says, look, you okay. And then they're calling your ass at 9 o'clock in the morning. You going to take care of this margin call? Yep. Wire's on its way. Scratch yourself. Okay. It's bad. Blow your leg off. It sucks. You got to get a prosthetic. Okay. If you're going to be in trading, you got to find a way to work around it. You're going to hurt yourself in this industry. You're going to. Everybody does and went through without any scars. We all, if you're here still and you finally made it point to profitability, you all have these same war stories. Some of them are much more interesting than others. But largely, most of the things that you're putting yourself through are completely avoidable because you're looking for too big of a return too fast. You want to flip your accounts. You see all these fuckers on YouTube. Yeah, I'll flip my account this way and I'll flip my account that way. I've done this and I've done that. And they're only showing you an MT4 list of trades. No engagement. No management, none of that stuff. And you fall victim to. If you read the comments on my YouTube video, it's a sugar fest. And you now understand why I did not have those comment sections open. Because all of that stuff, while I love it, it feels good as a mentor seeing it, it's needless. It's really not needed at all. And I can see how easily someone that would be slated against me would see that and say, oh yeah, this is all, him sock puppeting. That's a lot of people, isn't it? But you don't need to do that. And don't let that opinion by other people saying that they like or support what I do, don't let that shape your opinion of me. Don't, because you see other people saying, oh, ICT is the greatest thing since sliced bread. He's the GOAT. I'm not the fucking GOAT. Okay. I can't stand that. But don't let other people influence you thinking I'm better than I am. Other people influence you thinking I'm better than I am because you see other people saying that I am. I want you to come here and taste and see it yourself. And if I don't live up to what you think I've said, then you say it and bring it and show all the receipts where I said this live and it didn't happen. That I showed an example and explained what I was going to do and then did it. And it wasn't in the teachings. If you think what I'm teaching is horseshit, go through the content. And I made it even shorter with the 2022 content. Go through the charts and see if that doesn't pan out. See if you can't make money with that. Shoot holes in. Do it. Listen, every time I'm trolled, if it's a really good troll or someone's ribbing me about something, If it's noteworthy, it'll many times, like this whole discussion tonight, it'll cause me to think about something, and then I'm like, okay, I can turn this into a lecture. I'm going to get this off my chest at the same time, and then there it is. So some of my higher end trolls know how to get me to produce more content because they know if they say certain shit, I'll be triggered because I'm like a dog chasing cars. I can't help it. Because I know invariably a lot of you that are new or just, you know, you'll believe any fucking thing that anybody says negative about anybody else because it just seems like that's what should be believed. And never even seen it yourself, never even came through and did the work and tested it or spent time with me where I'm actually calling it before it happens with precision. That's the part that defies all logic. If it was something retail, it wouldn't be that precise because I've never seen anything in retail that's as precise as what I got. And I was looking for this when I first started because I was buying every book out there thinking, okay, the RSI divergence with a 14 period is going to be the clue for me to get the highest candle. If I could just learn how to sell the highest candle, then that's it. I'll be profitable. Listen to what I was thinking about as a 20-year-old. I was demanding and only accepting being short on the highest candle. So what was I missing by only pursuing that? Any chance of ever seeing or recognizing a fair value gap or a breaker? Oh, shit. And that's how you fell victim like everybody else does. Indicators are a distraction taking you away from open, high, low, and close. I'm convinced that if people would have studied price action long enough without all that other bullshit, patterns for pattern's sake would have been a bigger thing. And that was one of the reasons why I liked Linda Raschke and Larry Connor's book, Street Smarts. And I'd still believe that that book should be in everybody's library. There's a lot of stuff in there that I think is this filler. You know, they would probably argue and say, well, I've made this much money with it, Michael. You can go fuck yourself. And that's fine. That's great. I'm just saying that there's some patterns in there and some things that they talk about. They're not terribly exciting to me. You know, I like the anti-pattern because it kind of made sense because it still had a little bit of a hook to the stochastic type thing. And I was a big fan of stochastic at the time when that book came out. But I've had affinity for the turtle soup pattern. And while I don't teach and trade their version of it, it helped me understand the logic of how the market runs for stops. And I had to wrestle with this statement that Larry Williams made in one of his lectures on video. He said, you know, there's these people. And when I played it for my son, we were in our theater about a couple weeks ago. And I said this in the last time I did a Twitter space mentioning it. I'm going to say this, I'm going to close it. But there's a part in the video where he says, you know, I've been doing this a long time. And you hear these people, they got me. Those guys got me. Those guys did it to us guys. That's how he says it in the discussion, referring to, you know, someone stopping you out. And he doesn't believe, at least through his material, he promotes the idea, and I'm referring to Larry Williams right now. He promotes the idea that there is no collective entity of someone out there pursuantly going after your stop loss. When I'm absolutely 100% privy to the group that does that. So here's the problem with that. If you learn from that as a young, impressionable 20-year-old like I was, and then everything I was seeing and made me feel like I was on the right path. But my hero, Larry Williams at the time, and I have all the respect in the world for this man still. I'm honest in telling you that him saying that remark was a hindrance for me. When I had it figured out in my second and a half to third year, that remark by him fucked me all up because I looked at him as like a father figure because I didn't have my dad and my grandfather was gone. So I was, looking to latch onto a father figure. And this shit's hard, man. And you have so many advantages today with the technology. And look at what I'm doing. I'm fucking still bloviating on about shit. You probably, some of you probably already fucking left the conversation and went to sleep or whatever you're doing. I don't give a shit. If there's one of you listening, that's all I need. Just give me an audience of one. And I'll talk and talk and talk. But this remark by Larry Williams saying that, he didn't believe there was them guys did it to us guys. Somebody stopped us out. And because I had so much respect for him and I believed everything that came out of his fucking mouth and anything he had printed, like I was the fanboy of fanboys. Like you could have never said anything negative about that man. And if you look into his personal life, they went after him for tax evasion. They picked him up on the airplane going to or leaving Australia or going to Australia or something to that effect. And he did some time in jail for all that bullshit. And I mean, there's all kinds of fucking shit that run around him. And honestly, I think it's because he beat their ass. Like him or not, he whooped their ass. And they don't want people coming out there feeling like they can whoop that ass. So that's the reason why I always stay in demo. I'm standing out here showing you things, but I'm also cognizant to the fact that there would be a different treatment of me if I go out there and start running up in front of everybody and you all get to come on my coattails. Okay. I'm nervous many times when I talk about certain topics, and I don't like some of the things I've said in some of these Twitter spaces when I go off the rails and I say more than I want to say. I can't retract it. I can't pull it back. Part of me feels like it's therapy because I get to get it off my chest, but I'm also aware of who I learned from, and I don't want to cause any of that kind of static. So I live in that realm where somebody can look at me and say, "Oh, he's a demo clown. He's a demo baller." This thing, and that's fine. I coined the term demo baller. That's me. I did it so that way I can stand right there in front of everybody in plain sight, hidden, where only people that would want to learn how this stuff works would give me their ear in time, and they're rewarded for that. But everybody else casually look at me and say, "Oh, well, fuck him. He's playing around with demo accounts." Great. Perfect camouflage. Perfect. And I've been out here doing it just like this. Mask and saying, "Oh shit, there's really something there." And that's what I enjoy. I like doing that. But Larry Williams was a huge hindrance to me because his words saying that he didn't believe that there was an entity out there. Oh shit, I had to make sure my phone was still on. I was hitting the wrong button. I thought I had lost my battery. Hold on 1 second. Because his belief in the stop hunt part of this industry, he said that he didn't have that view. And his excuse for that position was because he sold the high of this market or did this and that, and he'd come back with, if you get stopped out, your stop loss is in the wrong place. Okay, I admit your stop loss is in the wrong place if you get stopped out. That's a given. But that doesn't change the fact that there is somebody out there collectively aiming for your shit. You don't think that's happening? Because that's exactly what I'm teaching you to do. You're targeting retail stop losses. If you're learning as my student, that's exactly what the fuck I'm doing. And that's what these young men and women are doing right now when they're making money, whether they're live accounts or they're funded accounts. When they're banking and getting real money, when that money's going from the brokerage firm into their fucking bank accounts, that's happening because they're going after stop losses, Mr. Williams, and that's just the bottom fucking line. So if you've had that thought process all this time, it's time to reassess things because it's really going on. It's absolutely going on. And one of the things made me angry, there was a period of time where I was like, fuck Larry Williams. Okay. And I've changed my tune because obviously I was a young man being stupid. But I was offended by, when I finally realized that I've postponed my level of understanding about the marketplace. If I would have just simply discounted him and his opinion instead of elevating it, okay? And why am I even saying this? Because I know I have profitable students that have done things with other approaches. You know, these people are making money. They've made money. And they came to me and they hear how hardline I am about certain things. Well, I'm hardline about every fucking thing. I'm polarizing about everything. I have my opinion. Everybody else is fucking wrong. That's just the way I am. It's a one-way street with me, and they name them. They name roads after me. One way. I'm not here for friends. You're here to listen to my opinion, whether you like it or not. I don't give a fuck. Okay. But if you want to learn how to do this, this is the way I teach it. And sometimes I'm not the best I can think about. They want to pop up in yin and yang symbol on their fucking chart, and then they got to just do something based on that. Give me something to understand why I'm doing it. Don't just give me a stop sign or a green light go and longer. I came up in the 90s when this shit was hot and heavy, when everybody started realizing, hey, I could start marketing shit. I could sell books. I can sell courses. And I didn't know how to do any of that shit. I was learning. I was buying everybody's bullshit. And everybody learned from the 90s, oh, shit, there's a market for this. And in the 2000s, it exploded. Remember infomercials? That's when that shit happened. Because everybody felt like they could go in there and be a rag. Like it was like a comic strip on the back of a fucking newspaper. It was worthless. It gave you a directory of everything that every newspaper and phone number that you can post an ad with. You could get that shit on the internet. The internet was around then. But on an exclusive deal, 1-900 numbers. Yeah. I had 1-900 numbers. I had a betting channel, I had a horoscope channel, I had a dating service line, all that shit. Okay? I had all that stuff. And you know how much money I made off of it? $1.50 of it. Now I had to do the advertising, but he made more money off of it. Long story short, he ended up getting arrested for some bullshit, and he cut his own fucking throat in the jail cell. That's Don Lapre. So I've done that shit too. I sold the Avenue, which is a little shit rag newspaper on Thursday that came out, and I ran on the city paper, making money handicapping horse races. And it was something I just simply condensed, and there it was. But gamblers, okay, gamblers are sick individuals. And I didn't realize that at the time. I just figured, well, shit, I'm going to sell something because what? I see these people that I was working for, they had a mail order business. Oh, now, I just got to sit back and get the money. I said, yeah, but I don't have that. How can I start something? If you were doing it, what would you sell? He goes, I don't know. I'd probably sell like a book or something. I said, yeah, but what would sell? And here's the things that sell: making money and sex. Anything making money sells, number one. But the only thing that outperforms that is anything sexual. That's pornography. I never was interested in that. And his family was into that industry. They owned a theater on Bel Air Road or Harford. I can't remember if it's Harford Road or Bel Air Road. And then they did a lot of the adult novelty stuff, mail order stuff. And man, I literally, when I walked in and I saw their dining room table, and they had mountains of fucking money falling off on the floor. And this man's wife came in the room, and her wedding ring looked like a blue ice cube. The diamond was blue. It was huge, fucking enormous. It was so ridiculous looking. I was nervous. I was like, I'm in the wrong fucking place. I didn't want to move. I was afraid if I posted that money, they'd probably bust me in the head, like, going to try to steal all this shit. Like, I was nervous. I've never been around that kind of money before. So I'm thinking, okay, they clearly know what the fuck they're doing. So I was asking his nephew, I was like, hey, into that shit. So I was like, okay, well, lottery numbers. Everybody had a thing for lottery numbers. And I was like, oh, fuck that. If I knew how to win the lottery, I'd just win the lottery. And I was like, what do people bet on? horse races. I knew nothing about fucking horses. I knew nothing about racing horses. My grandmother had horses, and I rode them on the weekends when I'd come up there. But apart from that, I didn't know anything about horses and stuff. So I condensed it down to like 15 pages. And I drew my own picture of the horse in the front being ridden by a jockey. And there it was. I sold it right on City Paper and the Avenue. And I only made the copies that were purchased. Mail order, money orders would come in. I didn't have to do any kind of, MasterCard, Visa card, none of that shit. And sometimes it would be cash. There it is. It's done. So that was the beginning stages of Entrepreneur Huddleston. But I have no idea how the fuck we got on this conversation. But back to Larry Williams. That influence he had on me, that was a negative influence. You see the results of it. It's precise. But I don't want you, much like watching results on anything except for the content either works or it doesn't, or you're lazy, because that's the only outcomes. If you're not lazy, you will make this work for you. You can't deny it. It's the truth. It's the absolute market. But you have to come to grips with, there are things that you're going to encounter in this industry that are taboo. There is no stop hunts. There is no them that are going to get you. And a lot of the old timers, and Larry Williams is old time, like he's been at it longer than I have. He's been doing it 50 years. I've been doing it 30. And he's done, wrote all kinds of books and made a name for himself as an educator and such. And he's highly regarded. And I regard him. He was my first mentor. But he making that remark, as much as he believed in it, had a huge fucking negative impact on me. And I wrestled with, heart of hearts, that he was wrong. He was wrong. Absolutely fucking wrong. Okay. So instead of just going through the process of saying, okay, let me just suspend my belief in what he believes and agreeing with it, and let me go just test this on my own, I put it off. And I knew, and I have it in my journals, I'm wrestling with this right now. I just wish he never would have said that. And by me saying that in my journal, what did I just do? I reinforced the negative control and power of that statement he made. They're his fucking words. That's all they are. They're words. Some of you get offended because I'm dropping the F-bomb. You're supposed to be a Christian. It's a fucking word. Okay? It's just a word. I'm emphasizing something. I am not calling you out of your name. I'm ferociously trying to communicate the level of passion I have behind what I'm saying. If it's ugly language, look past it. Just understand I'm talking to you because I want you to do well. I'm not trying to offend any of you. I'm not trying to be Mr. Perfect Christian, because there is none of them. They don't exist. But I'm trying to communicate the understanding that I had that problem in my own development. And when I journaled it multiple times, I would literally start off my journal sometimes saying, I'm still wrestling with Larry, to take anything I say that is an opinion about other styles, other approaches to trading. I'm not oblivious to the fact that there's other people out there literally making money, and they have no idea what the fucking order block is. They have no idea what a fair value gap is. They have no idea about any of this shit I'm teaching you, and yet they're profitable. I'm aware of that, but I have to be me. And I'm sure when Larry Williams said what he said, he had well-meaning intentions as to encourage his students, like he was initially dealing with me. I was like, okay, so no one's going to get my stop loss, because as soon as I understood what he was teaching, a stop loss order was going to protect me from losing more money, but I'm going to lose money. Fuck that! I don't want to put that in there, because if I'm doing this, I should be right. That's what you're expecting to learn as a trader, right? Everybody comes to that conclusion when they first come here. Not just to me, to anybody. You're going to teach me how to never take a losing trade. Nobody has that. Nobody has that book. Nobody has that course. Nobody has that mentorship. Nobody has that secret technique. You're going to trade with my concepts. You're going to have losing trades and you're going to have winning trades like anything else. The difference is when you are wrong here, you're not going to be going back and trying to form fit what setting on your indicator would have avoided that. You fucking lost. Next trade. It doesn't mean anything's broken. It just means you had a human error. You did something wrong. Own it. Take full responsibility for it. You had money management behind the trade properly. It did not crush your account. It did not make you nuts because you had a losing transaction. And what? Preconceived notions to, hey, every trader that makes money never loses. That's how I went into this. Because I looked at what Larry Williams did, being promoted back then. Oh shit, he took $10,000 to $1.2 million in 1 year. And then when I found that he was over $2 million at his equity high, that was it. Nobody could have told me anything bad about him then. And here's the thing. He lost more than half of that equity high. And I didn't even see it like that. I held on to the fact that he got up to 2.2 million. Hey, he did 2.2 million. He didn't go home with 2.2 million. He got there though. Now, as a trader looking back now, more mature, I can appreciate the fact that he went from 2.2 down to 700,000 and back up to 1.2. But at the time, as a young man, it completely went over my head that he was at 2.2 and lost all the way down to 700,000. That, to me, is much more impressive to come back from that drawdown and still come out with 1.2. But the fact that in my infancy, not even recognizing that level of drawdown, these are, well, they're not even at the extreme. Like there's times where I'm swinging crazily and I can't control it. Bipolarism is very difficult to live with, and it's really hard for the people around you. And trading with it and teaching with it, to me, I'm astonished that I'm effective at all, because I know how it's hard for me to listen to certain people, and I know how I can really like to listen to certain individuals, but they have nothing to offer. And then there's some people that you'll listen to that you really can resonate with, and you can just like listening to them. And I know I'm not the cup of tea for some of you, and I wish I could fix it, but I can't. And just try to take me out of that. I'm just a conduit. Go to the content, study it, take what you need to make yourself better with it, and just, keep me abreast as what you did with it. That's all I'm asking for. I'm interested to see what you do at my life's work. That's all. And already I won't connect the dots for some of you. And if that happens, my last request would be for you to give it some time, take some time away from it and come back to it later on and see if it doesn't do it for you then. But at least try to be there when we're doing the live sessions, because you'll see it and you'll hear me talk about it, and I'll explain what I'm seeing and what it should do and what it shouldn't do. And don't discount the fact that it's on a 1 and 5 minute chart, because everything I'm talking about is the same thing every time frame is going to do. When you see what I'm referring to, it'll make much more sense when you start back. And it'll feel like, you ever seen a stereogram? If you've never seen a stereogram, some people can't see a stereogram. What it is if you look at a picture, and it's usually made with like dots or some kind of pattern. And if you look at it casually, it just looks like, okay, well, there's nothing to that. But if you let your view, and when you have and when you have the experience of, once you understand what I'm teaching you, horse, there'll be an image of a horse or a fish, or it could be a word or whatever. Something's hidden inside that picture. And when you finally see price for what it is, on the days it's going to do certain things, like for instance, the other day, not yesterday, like well, not the day we just finished, but the previous day, where I gave you every level for the day and it ran up, closed in the 60-minute fair value gap, broke down, went back to the opening gap and down into the fair value gap that shaded in blue. Like it did the whole full Monty that day. Every level I gave you had something to deal with that individual day. When you have that moment of astonishment where you can see these things before they happen, and you know where they're going to key up on, where the highs and lows are going to form, where the setups are going to form, and all you got to do is wait for the time of day when it's going to form. There's nothing that you can use in terms of words to describe it. It's that moment of what feels like real magic. It feels like all the planets aligned, like everything finally makes sense. And it's a weird epiphany that I still am always trying to find a way to articulate it, and I can't. The thing that you don't even know what you're looking for, which makes no sense, you listening to me right now, and I'm hearing my own words. It doesn't reach far enough. It doesn't, because it gives you a sense of empowerment that when you experience it and you start living it and you can see it repeating all the time, if you communicate the level of confidence you have in it, you're going to sound arrogant too. You're going to. And at some point, you're not going to give a fuck what people think, because you don't have time to explain it. And at 50 years old, I don't have time to explain it. Okay. I don't have a way of explaining it where you're going to have to experience it yourself. And some of you have been experiencing it. Students that have gone through mentorship, they have experienced it. They make real fucking money. They don't give a shit whether you believe them or not. They don't give a fuck. They don't care. None of that matters. Their life is completely and permanently fucking changed for the positive. They don't give a rat's ass. Who's making videos about what? Who's talking about what? They don't give a shit. When you start making money, be honest now. Tweet me right now. Who's going to be the one that gives a fuck what anybody else thinks when you start making bank? Name the person you're going to give a fuck about hearing from when you start making 6 figures a year. Who's going to be the person that's going to make you feel bad about doing that? Is there anybody you can name? Because chances are you're probably typing nobody. Yep, nobody. That's the person that's going to influence you. Because none of this is going to matter. Anybody's opinion about what you're doing when you're being successful matters not. And there's nothing wrong with living like that. Being successful is always going to have some measure of other people being angry that they couldn't. I'm giving it to you for fucking free. You all have the same advantages. So do it. Do it. But once you get there, don't be stingy with it. Help other people. Do something nice for other people. I want to hear about that. I'm hoping that I've encouraged that type of mindset in all of you. And when you get to that point when you can afford to do things nice, you don't have to make a big show of it. And I have people that are building hospitals in other countries. I have people that are building orphanages. All these things like that. To me and my family, when we see that type of stuff, that's incredible. That's stuff that really matters. Not, I bought a fucking Lamborghini, man, I had to pay cash for it, it's great. Fuck off. Nobody cares about that. Lamborghinis are out of style. Okay. The Bugatti, man. I want to be impressed. Show me a Bugatti. Buy the first Bugatti. That's what I want. Because if you ain't got a Bugatti, I don't give a fuck about your car. So, in closing, we've covered a great deal of things, obviously much more than you probably paid for, but there are no refunds. And everything you're going to see this year will help solidify everything you've seen in videos from me over the years. But monthly goals are absolutely crucial to you developing. One time. And if you're here to learn how to make money and you're not aiming for something in terms of monetary goal, if it's realistic, And I think 10% or less, and 10% is 2.5 years minimum experience, consistently profitable minimum, 2.5 years like that. Then and only then would I even promote the idea of aiming for 10% a month. But prior to that, nah, just aim for 3 to 6%. The end of the first year, you should be going into your first full year, going into the second start of the new year. That should be a goal of 6% per month, and accepting the fact that sometimes you won't hit it, but you won't be in a rush to try to get it before the end of the month. That's the difference. And that's also a growth that you'll have to go through that's uncomfortable. Learn from that. Develop responsibility and discipline not to chase the money. You're sticking to a process. Are you going to be mad if you have a 6-figure account, $250,000 funded account, and you made 3.5% in January, 6% in February, 4% in March, 1% in April, 6% the next 3 months after that, and then 2%, maybe break even on a few months the rest of the year? Is that a failure? Fuck no, it's not a failure. You will not go into a tailspin because you're not losing your mind about losing a trade. You're not in a rush to get it back. You're not trying to do an Olympic feat. You're doing realistic expectations, aiming for something that's logical. Think about what the industry teaches. 2% risk. That's too high. That's too high. You don't need to do that. You don't need to do that at all. You can do 1% or less than 1% and make all the money you'd ever fucking need. But the problem is you can't see it because you can't see consistency. Consistency, doing the same thing, invent some shit, okay? It's the Big Mac. When you're going into your trading, the same recipe, the same model, the same multiplier that McDonald's uses for their Big Mac sandwich, you're doing that with your setup. You're not trying to make a fucking Big Mac a Whopper, okay? You're not trying to make it a fucking, something other than what it is. And you're looking for it to appear in your chart. And when it's there, you don't think about it. You just engage it. You do it the same way every single time. You manage it the same way every single time. Done. The same measure of percent in terms of risk you're putting on the trade each time is the same. As your equity goes up, you're going to be risking more money, but percentage wise, it's the same amount of risk per equity. That's the benefit of having money management do the heavy lifting. You're doing the same thing all the time. And as the money goes up, the effort and results are compounded because of more equity and more leverage being placed behind the trade. But you're not increasing it exponentially in terms of percentage per risk. It's just the amount of equity being allocated in that percentage. As equity goes up, your leverage will be going up. So your position size will be increasing, but the measure of risk is never increasing. Monetarily, it is, but percentage-wise, it's not increasing. You have a fixed rate of risk percentage-wise. And as you draw down, when you have losing trades, then you start scaling it back. And that's the reason why you want to have it like 1% to 3/4 of 1%, because that gives you framework to do what when you have a losing trade? Cut your position in half. Now, you can go in with the lowest level of leverage and start there. There's nothing wrong with that either. But I like to have a little bit of a horse in the race. And 1%, 3/4 of 1%, I think is doable. It's not exposing you to obscene amount of risk, but you still can blow your account doing that over and over and over again, losing control. Not just simply, I'm looking for fair value gap after a shift in market structure and looking for a discount or a premium array to attack. Okay, well, what are you going to risk on your trade? And what happens if you take a loss on that trade? How are you going to engage? When will you stop? See, when I go into live streams, I know we were supposed to stop talking, right? I'm awake, so I'm still talking. When I'm on live streams and I get a chance to ask the person that's doing the live stream, I ask questions like this. I'm like, what tells you when to stop? Like, when do you pull the plug on your trading for the day? Is there a certain amount of money that you aim for? Once you hit it, you're done. Is there a certain number of losing trades or a percentage of equity you are willing to absorb, or allows me to be able to comment? And some of these fucking live streamers are little bitches because they see me in there. Okay. Wyland. Okay. You won't answer any of my questions. And I'm being sincere. I'm a part of your audience. Okay. And you won't answer my questions. It takes your moderators to say what I said, then you'll respond to them, but whatever. But I ask the same types of questions because I'm interested in the way the trader thinks. I could give two fucks what they use to get in, because 90% of the time what they're doing is legitimately chasing it, or they're just flat out wrong. But I like listening to their approach to how they internalize it. What causes the wrestling matches internally? Because that's where everybody fails. And I like listening to their answers. And for the most part, they all have the same retail responses. They just trust their gut. They when they feel the pressure of it and they just can't handle it anymore, then they stop. To me, that's bullshit. You have to have it written out. I'm going to take a losing trade once in the morning. And then if I have a losing trade in the morning, I'll go one more time. If I lose again in the morning session, there is no afternoon session. That's it. We're done. Because I'm at my 2 loss in the same session, and that means I'm probably going to be going in bitter and sore and wanting to prove something, and I want to get it all back in the afternoon. So therefore, do what? Just take it home. Go in there tomorrow and trade again. That's why I'm teaching you that way. In time, you'll know when you can go in the afternoon and correct that. But you don't know what that's like when you're brand new. You're impulsive. You have no idea what you're doing. And I have to be careful what I was going to say, because another person I like watching would probably be offended about what I'm going to say, and it wouldn't even have anything to do with them. So I'll hold that thought for a different conversation. But you have to know what causes you to say, I'm not doing it. If you take a losing trade in the morning and you don't take a second trade at all, then you can go in the afternoon, trying to just take some of the loss away. You're not trying to get it all back. You're not trying to double the loss into a gain. These are all rules that have to be outlined, written, not, well, I'll use that today because it feels like I should do it. No, you have to be rigid with these rules. Big Macs are not fucking made with chicken strips, okay? It's the same wannabe beef in those fucking pieces of bread, lettuce, and Thousand Island sauce they call special sauce, okay? That's a Big Mac. So they're doing it the same way all the time. Sometimes the Big Mac you get isn't fit for eating. And it's just like the fucking trade sometimes. You're going to get into it and it ain't going to be worth having. That's the way it is. Sometimes you don't get what you paid for and you get a bad result. Doesn't mean Big Macs are going to sell in the future. There's going to be lots of people that want Big Macs. And just like that model that you're following, once you identify what it is that you're going to be following, you're going to still trust it, even though it gives you once in a while lackluster or subpar results. And that is a learning curve that some of you aren't prepared for. You want it to be perfect. You want it to be painless. You want it to have no adversities coming through. Walking through the door and it's just right to the penthouse. Fuck that. No, nobody has that experience. Nobody have ever had that experience. And you're not going to be the one that gets it. Even if I was to sit down with you personally and trade live right next to you, you still would have adversities. You're going to have uncomfortable periods where you're not going to know. Like, think about it. When I'm doing certain things in videos, like, how did you know this? And how'd you know? And I'm expecting you to talk about, hey, that entry pattern was framed on this logic here, and your stop loss was framed on that. And how'd you get to that target? You're worrying about other shit. That's the least important thing. Why didn't you use that fair value gap versus this one, when that question you're asking is actually answered in the 2022 commentaries? You got to get past the first couple videos, folks. You got to watch them all. That's why I put it in there. So it's not for a lack of trying. I put the information in the lectures, but you have to watch them and not just listen to them. You got to take notes and then go and say, okay, what he said about the market doing these certain things. Let me see if I can go and see it. And boom, there you'll see it. And then it's now understood. You don't need to watch the videos 15 times to get the real flavor of what I'm trying to communicate. You'll see what it is, and then you won't need to go back to that topic anymore. But anyway, I'm quite certain my wife is flipping out down there, and my children's probably asked my mom, their mother rather. Dad's been up here a long time. Yes, I have. I've had a lot of time, a lot of fun tonight, and I'm feeling much better. And I've thoroughly enjoyed having this discussion with you. It maybe not so much answered the nuts and bolts of what it is that you should do, because if you're leaving this discussion feeling like 25%, 30% a month is doable consistently, I'm going to argue that with you. Because if you're starting out just now and you think that's a goal for you to be trying to go for right away, don't do that. Especially if you finally arrive at a point where you're funded and you have access to be able to take money from a company that makes it available to you. Be comfortable with doing the least in the beginning, because it's so easy to ruin it for yourself. And it's such a hard thing to climb back out of. It's much easier to defer instant gratification trying to do a lottery win or a big windfall victory, because once you suffer that, it stays with you. It's something that will plague every decision you ever make going forward. I can't tell you how many times when I put a trade on, as soon as I push the button, sometimes I'll have a flashback of something I did in another market decades ago. And I wasn't even thinking about that market or that even remotely happening in recent weeks, days, or months. But something triggers a memory, and I'm like, oh shit. And it causes me to second guess something, which causes me to get slippage on the position entry. That's normal. Like, that's a normal thing. But when I first started encountering that, I felt like there was something wrong with me. No, it's just I have a lot of experience. And because I was learning to do this improperly, because I didn't have a mentor sitting down with me in the beginning. The good Lord himself was the one that was giving me the tenacity to stick with this and guide me through all the turmoil. But I didn't have like this guy like you got right now that's bloviating on about what you should and shouldn't do. And it's hard to climb out of that, well, pit once you place yourself there, even if it's a small little drawdown, your career as a trader, because you all want to walk through with, perfect linen, no soil, no stains, no tears in your garments. That's not going to happen. You're going to get beat up. You're going to get a black eye, a deviated septum, broken ribs, might lose a couple teeth. You're going to lose some hair. It's going to gray. You're going to have all kinds of struggles the longer you do this. And it's all part of it. And you got to know what you're getting involved in, because it's not all peaches and cream here. You have to be comfortable with, I'm losing sometimes. And that's fucking fun, because it's not taking me out. I'm going to win. Every time I have a losing trade, the next trade, I'm trying to be even more precise with my entry and more precise with my exit. And I'm doing it with less risk. And I turn it into a way of personal victory, doing exactly what I'm supposed to do within the rules and the context of how I'm trading. And if you do that, guess what it does for you as a byproduct? It prevents you from going lunacy, like losing your mind, trying to get it back all right away. You won't have any anxiety about forcing yourself and being correct in trying to repair the drawdown right away. And here's the other thing. You won't regret not catching the big windfall wins. think about how many times have you watched me do a trade or watched the market tear off, and you can see it in hindsight. Oh, if I would have just been there, I could have done that. See, that's a problem for a new trader. That's a huge, huge problem. Only recently in the last, I don't know, maybe 8 years or so, fear of missing out, FOMO, has made its way to the vocabulary of a new startup trader. When we were coming up in the 90s and even before me, folks would make no mention of fearing missing a move. We were all scared shitless. Like we were afraid to get in the markets because we were told what? Everybody loses their ass in the commodity markets. Don't trade commodities. Well, you know me. You say don't step on the grass, I'm going to moonwalk across that shit. So I jumped in there fearless and I'm going to do whatever I got to do to make money, and then lost my ass right away. So I had to learn how to trade. You are going to fear missing out on all these moves until you adopt a model and you execute and operate only in the context and rules and parameters of that model. When you do that, you will, number one, be sober-minded about how making money is the number one common denominator, why you're doing what you're doing. You're not in here to try to impress anybody. You're here to make fucking money. That's it. You got bills to pay. You have a lifestyle you're trying to flesh out for you and your family. There's no shame in that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And having lots of money, that's not evil. The love of money is the root of evil. Not having a lot of money is evil. That's bullshit. That's a twisting of it. So having a lot of money is wonderful because you can do lots of things with money with the right mindset and heart. You can do a lot of good things for other people. But if you don't have a model, you will look at moves, tear off, and you not being a part of that move will make you do what? Regret, chase, and have remorse for not having been a part of it. And that fear of missing out on the next one will drive you crazy. But now, if you have a model that tells you, I'm engaging, I'm only going to get this many points during this session. Once I get it, I'm stopping. I'm closing my fucking charts. I'll come back in the afternoon if my model says I can. If it says no, I close it and I come back the next day. And that makes you money. And you're not worrying about anything else outside of that because you're keeping your focus on following the fucking rules. If you follow the rules when you're driving your car and you follow all the laws, you don't speed, you stay on your right side of the fucking road, and the next person does the same way. And as long as there's no weather issue, chances are you're probably going to arrive in one piece. Change any of those circumstances, and guess what you've invited? Chaos. And chaos likes to come in there in an astonishing manner. Sometimes much more expensive than you've ever imagined it would be. And yes, the same thing you'll get in your trading. If you open yourself up to things that your parameters and your rules are meant to protect you from, what's it protecting you from? Yourself. See, the broker isn't going to do anything to you. The market is not going to do anything to you outside of what you allow. It can't take anything from you if you don't enter the trade. It can't take more money from you than you've allowed it to through leverage and your stop placement. Your broker can't make you put the trade on, and your broker can't make you take the trade off unless it margins you out. So who's really running this shit? You are. But everybody, when they first start, they like to find the fault with somebody else. Oh, this guy taught me bullshit. This guy didn't teach me this way. Oh, my broker didn't let me do this, and I did that, and I did this. No, own it. You fucked up. It's a learning experience. Grow from it. How do you present a track record of consistency without having a rule-based model? I don't understand that, because I'm not impressed with somebody just winging it putting trades on sometimes with a stop loss, sometimes not, and only coming out of drawdown when you have the highest level of contracts you can afford, even if it's real account. That to me is not skill. That's just somebody that's just trying to dig their way out of a pit. And that's the extreme of it. And you don't want to open yourself up to any of those types of things because they're avoidable, number one. And it's all rooted in public image, whether it be your friends and family and coworkers or the circle on your social media platforms, whether it be Twitter, Instagram, Discord, Telegram, whatever the hell it is. Those people are not going to increase your bottom line. They're not. But guess what they can do? They can affect it adversely because they're going to influence you into making you feel like you didn't do enough. You didn't impress them. You didn't have enough size on that position to warrant a like or a comment from somebody or a reaction from someone. If everything you're doing in your trades is geared at trying to get public acceptance or my acceptance by a like or a retweet or something to that effect, you're doing it wrong. It doesn't matter what I think or anybody else thinks. Did you follow your rules? Did your model deliver like you expected it to do? Did you manage risk impeccably? If you've done that, do the same thing the next time. And that's all it fucking matters. That's it. That's all this is. That's all trading is. You're keeping the bullshit out. You're not letting toxicity come in, whether it be from your friends and family, coworkers, or social media. See, social media is that fucking relative that comes to the fucking Christmas party and shit that damn well every time they come there, they're drunk, they're disorganized, they're dysfunctional. They bring all the bullshit. They're the black cloud that comes in there, and every horror story that can be talked about, they're the one bringing it. And you feel like they've sucked the life out of the entire experience. That's what social media is. It's the unwanted cousin that you didn't want to have show up at fucking Thanksgiving. That's what social media is. And you all love them. You keep signing into it, loving it. Because you're addicted to that drama. You're addicted to that bullshit. And none of that's going to make you money. None of it. It'll distract you. You'll miss trades. You'll worry about bullshit. And the whole time, the market just presented something that you just missed. So you're going to have to be a guard of your attention. Who are you giving your time to? Are you giving your time to someone that's actively pursuing a better outcome for you? Or are you watching somebody that's trying to sell something to hopefully get money out of your pocket into theirs? Have you listened to other people pour themselves into you like you're getting right now for free? And this is real world shit. Like I've lived all this stuff. Or are you getting a sales pitch later on? A coupon code, some horse shit, something you don't need. Okay. You only need the open, high, low, and close. That's it. Some logic as to why it should run to a high or a low or a fair value gap above the price or below the price. Folks, that's it. That's the only four outcomes. If the market's going to move, that's it. If it's not doing that, guess what it's doing? It's consolidating. So now let's strip it down. Does it want to go higher? How do we know that? Did it take sell stops recently? And is the weekly chart likely to expand on some higher time frame level? If it is, and those criteria has been there, then you wait for a time, 8:30 when news comes out, or you wait for 9:30 equities open, and you look for evidence of displacement to show you that it wants to go there. Once it does that, it's just shift in market structure. Okay, great. Use your fair value gap. Go and buy it. Put your stop loss where I taught you, right below the low. And then if you get stopped out, if you're going to take another trade, half of the leverage that you used before. What are you going to aim for? A short-term high if you're bullish, or a fair value gap above the market price that you are entering at. Once you get there, Whatever that target is that you're aiming for, 75 to 80% of your position needs to be off. Done. Now, that's how you can do this model where you're aiming for several handles. Once you bank that, then leave a little portion on to see if you can get a runner. And many times you're going to find out that that smaller portion pays for in full some of your losing trades. So it allows you to smooth out all those imperfections in your performance. And that's something that you're going to want to have as a trader, something that helps you weather all that normalcy in trading, where you think it's a straight vertical line of everybody's making money. You're finding out that there's an up and down to this sometimes, and you need to be able to keep that down slope, the drawdown, managed. So it's not just managing profitable trades. You want to manage your losing trades. When you go into a losing series of incorrect trades, and you're going to have it, you got to be able to reduce the amount of leverage on your trades. So that way, when you're in a losing series of trades, you're reducing the next trade you take. It's half of what you put on in terms of leverage. So if you took like, for instance, you see me start with many times 6 contracts. That's $300 per point in the S&P. Then my next partial, unless I'm really aggressive and I know I'm on side, I'll go from 6 to 3 contracts on my next pyramid, and then from 3 down to 1. If I'm really aggressive and I know I'm on side, it means I know I'm on the right side of the marketplace. I had all the things I look for that would cause me to be bullish. I'm going to go in with 6 contracts, and then my next partial will be 5. And then my next partial going in will be 4, 3, 2, 1. That's pillaring. Okay. A pyramid is where I start with the largest portion first, and then I work my way down, splitting it in half each time. That's my normal pyramiding. If I know I'm on side and I know I have everything in my favor that's going to go up, I will go in with 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then many times, if I catch something else and it gives me something else that I can add another one on, I'll go one more single after that. And that's usually it. So if that's your working base of what your average multiplier is, that's my go-to. If I can't put a trade on with that type of gearing, then I'm probably not in a high probability setup. So I'll just do something with like 4 or 3 contracts and no pyramiding. I'll just do partials as it lets me. So you'll see those examples when I'm doing, the live explanations. I'll say, okay, this is a trade where I would have done 6 here. I'm going to say what I would do. I'm not going to push the button. So that way you can clearly see I am not front running anything, not even in a demo, nothing. I'm going to explain the logic of what I'm looking for, why it should be done this way, and that way you see it. Somebody's still going to bitch and complain that you're not trading ICT, but I'm still going to call it to the fucking degree of perfection, and they're going to miss the whole point of doing it. Don't be that stupid person, okay? Don't be a fucking Carl. There's no Employee of the Week award around here. But I think that's going to be it tonight. So I'm going to close this one, and hopefully you got something out of it. If not, I hope I entertained you for the time we've been together. Trying to see what I got here. Hold on one second. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. I've been going for 4 hours. It feels like I just fucking started. You want to go for 4 more hours? I can go for 4 more hours. Some of you are at work like, this motherfucker ain't stopped talking yet. No, I don't. I don't stop talking unless I'm sleeping. But anyway, I had a lot of fun tonight, and I feel so much better. And I'm hoping that you got something from this in terms of inspiration and realistic approach to setting monthly goals, why you should do it, and why you shouldn't do other things. And I tossed a lot of other stuff in here for no extra charge. And I don't know when I'm going to do the next one. I wasn't really planning on doing any of these in 2023, but you know how that works with me. Whatever I say, you're always going to get more than what you're expected to get. So anyway, tomorrow, turn your charts on at 10 o'clock. Look for a 1 or 5 minute short-term high or low, and study that for a liquidity run, and look for 5 handles. Don't start your charts or open them up before 10 o'clock because you're going to be doing this exercise Monday through Friday of next week. And I'm going to give you other things that you got to start doing. But I want you to just spend time doing that. Don't do any demos tomorrow. You're just paper trading, or not paper trading. You're tape reading. No paper trading. No demo trading. No live trading. Okay. Just observe, but only look at the market right at 10 o'clock and only look to 10:45. You should find something between 10 and 45. One little stop hunt. Look for 5 handles. If you don't get it, if you can't see it real time, just after the fact, after it happens, and you can see it for what it really is, then log it. Put that in your journal, and you'll see what I can do with that with your learning the following week. Okay, and all of this will help frame tape reading and understanding how to find setups, and it's applicable to higher time frame charts. Don't think that this only works on these smaller time frames. It doesn't. It works on all time frames, but you have the logic that I'm going to share with you, as we go through this year. Okay, that's going to be it. I'll touch base with you, I'm sure, tomorrow by way of Twitter. Tickle on your Twitter, and until I do that,